Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. You're listening to Let's Talk, your weekly current affairs show with me, Hamid Chowdhury, and my co-host Aqil Halil.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. It's brought to you on Salam Radio 106.2 FM and on Inspire FM for our Luton brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum for you guys. We're online at salamradio.co.uk. You can find us on our social media outlets, Salam Radio at Salam Radio, as well as YouTube Live or via iOS or Android apps. We're always on air 24/7, 365. Well, hardly. Uniting all communities. Please get involved with your opinions by calling us on 01703 602 133 or text and WhatsApp us on 07745 278 978. So today we'll be talking about, we're starting the session off with a knife crime. Is London now the murder capital of the world? And also in the second half of the show we're going to be talking about as the fallout of US quitting the Iran deal, and we'll kind of look at that and analyze that and see what the future of that looks like. So please, if you have any opinions, views, or want to get involved in the conversation, please do call us on 01773 602 133 or WhatsApp us on 07745 278 978. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Hey brother.
Alhamdulillah, yourself?
Alhamdulillah, not bad. How's the week been? Good?
It's been eventful.
Yeah, eventful. Oh, that's good. That's good. It's always good.
On all fronts.
Alhamdulillah.
How about yourself?
Hey, yeah, alhamdulillah, not too bad.
And eventful for you as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's a regular week. The weather's been great. I mean, I gotta admit, the weather's been really good. So I'm finally getting to use my garden furniture, by the way.
Oh yeah, I remember you did say so. You did use it.
It started raining as soon as I bought it.
Yeah.
But now, alhamdulillah, it's great.
Good. Oh, also, brother Amir, assalamu alaikum.
Oh yes.
Yeah, we got to do that every show. Shout out to you and your empty chair.
The empty chair. Yeah. Anyway, look, we've got loads to cover today. We've got two meaty topics to talk about.
We have.
So I think let's just get straight into the first one. So, first 100 days of this year, 2018, has seen 52 people killed in London.
Mm-hmm.
Vast majority of the causes for those have been stabbing.
Yeah.
So the knife crime is up rampantly and it's increasing rapidly. This year, 62 deaths, and according to Met Police, September 2017, this is across the UK, 37,443 knife offences, and 6,694 gun offences, of which in London there were 12,988 knife crimes in the capital. Knife crime 21% rise in the last 12 months. I mean, I don't know what's going on. I know you wanted to do this topic.
I did.
I mean, apart from the kind of the recent news, I didn't realise the gravity of this situation.
Yeah, I mean, this was the reason why I was saying, look, we need to cover this, because you're absolutely right. You know, there's been it's a continuous stream of breaking stories of people being fatally stabbed or shot or had acid attacks of some description since the start of the year, and it's just been a growing trend, and from all sources, whether it's government, whether it's the Mayor of London, whether it's community workers, victims, there's no one single reason why this is happening. But it is happening. I mean, look, let's be honest here, knife crime, knives and guns and things like that have been around for a long time, and crime has been around since the beginning of time. There's always been something happening, isn't there? So, but not this scale.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think, maybe we're across the pond or something. But you hear a lot of this stuff in New York, for example. Yeah. And I don't think anyone would be too surprised. I don't think New Yorkers would be surprised at the kind of stats that we're seeing for London. Yes, that's right. If it wouldn't be out of place in New York, unfortunately.
Of course not. Yeah, that's right.
In London or in the UK. I mean, this is frightening.
It is,
and out of ordinary. As to what really is happening.
I agree with you, but it's also the the things that are happening. It's not a basic situation. Someone's just going around stabbing people. It's, for example, there was a shocking night of violence on the February the 20th when 6 people were reportedly stabbed in North London. And then, you know, there's just too many people to list. We haven't got enough time in the show to actually
these are people completely disconnected.
Yeah, completely disconnected.
Yeah, okay.
You know, for example, you know, a man in his 20s on April the 4th was, you know, stabbed in Hackney, for example.
Right.
He was the 13th person to die in in London in just 22 days. You know, it just goes on, and you have other issues where
that's almost one a day.
It is. I mean, a woman in her 20s was arrested after stabbing a man in Isle of Dogs on April the 12th. You know, there was incidents. The thing as well is quite a lot of things are happening over the weekends, and the bank holiday weekend there was another incident. Quite a few people were stabbed as well. You know, and as I was saying to you before, there isn't a single reason why this is going on. What we have done during our research, and certainly as the story this has been building, is initially people were saying the reason why this is happening is because it's mass migration. That's too simplistic. It's almost racist and right-wing way looking at it. There's no fundamental one reason. The police are saying that, the mayor's saying that. In fact, Sadiq Khan himself is saying, there's been too many police cuts. The Tories have cut the budget so much. I mean, for example, 1 in every 5 PCSOs in the UK have lost their jobs across the police force, but in London, it's 3 in 5.
Yeah.
Right. So the resources, money, has been, and not just that. You had that affects youth programs, you know, like community centres where people can go to and have different ways of spending their time and things like that. But then the other element as well is, which I've read quite a lot about, is there's gang violence. Yeah. There's certain genres of music where people are creating a song together, and they will have very, very explicit content to do with killing on YouTube. But what they will do then, brother, is they will then goad each other, right, to go and commit more crime. So so that's going on. You've got police cuts, you've got this happening here, then you've got drug crime, you have poverty, you have rich versus poor. All these are all in the mix.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't think anyone would disagree that it's a complex issue. And
very
it's
much so.
Multifaceted issue, and it's across many layers within our society. This issue, and you know, I think when you hear about this first, what in most people's minds is this kind of gangsterism.
That's right.
And gang culture.
That's right.
You know, where, you know, it's this kind of almost become a mental illness where, you know, people want to be very bad or at their worst, because when in these kind of gang cultures, when they're at their worst, or the baddest boys, they're at their best within respect of the gang culture. But that doesn't explain the Met Office statistic that historically that has been the case, but currently 75% of those who are caught with knives have no connection with gangs.
Correct.
So it's not. So it can't be put down as it historically has been to gangs. There's a much more deeper underlying issue that has to be tackled and has to be brought to the surface.
And to that end, if you look at some of the victims, if you look at the age ranges, for example, yes, there are quite a lot of young people. So everything from 18 upwards, but you do have people who are like, for example, Elizabeth Lakatsu. She was 44 years old. She was stabbed. She died. Okay, Hannah Leonard, 55, stabbed in a flat in Camden.
Okay, inshallah, we've got this. We've got a caller on the line. So let's yeah. Right. So, Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, brother Hamid and brother Akil.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Shabina. You're live on air on Let's Talk.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for.
Thank you very much. It's been a really long time. I do apologise. You know,
it has been actually.
Yes, it has been.
We'll take this up privately. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm sure you will, brother Akil. But thank you very much for giving it such fantastic talk, I think, on what is a really pertinent issue. With your permission, I'd like to give a little bit of a view from a perspective of an individual that I was listening to the other day, who spoke of his experience of coming out of school, not being able to get employment, any employment, because he had a lack of experience, and every job that he went to required experience. He wasn't trained to have that experience within the school. The right opportunities weren't given to him. And he, as soon as he came out, he was actually what he quoted to be as groomed by a gang. it was a way of making easy money, and he joined this gang. Unfortunately, he was caught up in something, arrested, he was jailed, and he said that that was an eye-opener for him, because in that he not only hurt himself, but he hurt the people around him, including his family, who suffered immensely. His brothers, younger sisters, people who were dependent. His mother was single. She was working 2 or 3 jobs. And he came out and he made a conscientious decision that he was going to change the way things were. But that's just one person. And when you look at the statistics of how rife this culture has become, it's almost become like a cult.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it probably would change if these children are given opportunities and put on the right pathways, and sort of alternatives in place of just work experience are given to them. Apprenticeships, for example, if they increase that, maybe it could be an opportunity for them to steer away from such gangs, because I would literally call it grooming, and I think that it's a safeguarding issue as well, because these children are vulnerable.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, we said it's a very complex issue, and one dimension is gangs. Although gangs are becoming less and less prominent in people who carry knives now, and this example you gave is a great example. But unfortunately, there's very few who go to prison and come out having learnt a lesson, because 30% of those who go to prison reoffend, and within sort of 15 to 17-year-olds, that's up to 42%. So the youth reoffense, offenders or reoffending is huge. It's massive, and partly there are many reasons why that is the case. A lot of it is down to the fact that when they come out, they're in the same environment, so nothing's changed.
Yeah, I mean, you have the also issue here. Is to some extent people will think, well, these people all are living in ghettos. Most of these people have been murdered in ghettos, but actually they're not. It's widespread. A lot of people who are committing the crimes may be coming from deprived areas. Again, it goes back to lack of resources, lack of education, lack of community support, like the sister was just saying just then. But the victims, some of the victims, you read some of these names and it just shocks you. These ordinary citizens, just like me and you, just minding their own business, and they're out in the street and they're just getting killed.
Yeah, absolutely. And just one thing I'd like to say in my closing statement is that I do think that the government needs to get its priorities right. I mean, we live in the city of Peterborough. People over here, parents are fined here for taking their children on holiday outside of the school term. And it's a petty way, I think, of making money. And instead, I'm not saying that we need to penalise parents. I'm not saying that we really do need to change our priorities to hold somebody at least accountable for these children's actions. Are the children, I think that nowadays there was sort of the lack of police resources as well. The dishing out of ASPOs just isn't enough. I think that what needs to be done is discussions have to be made about who is going to be ultimately accountable and have to, you can't use the word pay for, but be responsible for the loss of life of so many of these innocent, like you say, the citizens. Just like somebody has to be accountable for it.
Yeah, but the problem you got there, though, sister, is you can't have one body, one set of people being responsible for this. You need to have. I mean, this is a society issue. This is a whole.
I think
and I understand what just
right. Because what she's saying is that it has. I mean, the government has.
You got them without doubt.
Continuously cutting. I mean, Unison said, between 2010 and 2016, in 6 years, they cut 387,000 from the youth service.
That's right.
Sadiq Khan, only today, I think, he said that 13,000 young people are without a youth club that they had in 2010.
That's right, yeah.
So this is the...
Ultimately, you are right. I mean, obviously, a government plays a role, but I think this needs everybody who has a vested interest to be sat around the same table talking to each other, but nobody's doing it at the moment. It's disjointed. It's a disjointed response. And what we're having instead is we're having people being blamed for example, like you mentioned Sadiq Khan. I mean, a lot of people are blaming just him. For it's all on your watch. It's all your fault. You're the mayor of London. Before you came into power, none of this happened before. But I don't buy that. I think definitely the government has a role to play.
I don't buy that. I think they do. And if we compare incidents like Grenfell, we're totally different. It's not comparable. But then again, nobody takes to account Theresa May, who this whole time hasn't met with a single one of those families of those residents who perished in that fire. So there's a lot of accountability that should be taken by this government.
Okay, absolutely.
But thank you very much.
Thanks for calling in, sister.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Alhamdulillah, quite honestly, I think she's made some pertinent points.
Yep,
and the fact that, you know, on average in London, there's £1 million a year being cut from youth services. That's about 36% on average, year on year, which is directly feeding, because there's a direct link between boredom and antisocial behaviour.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a direct link between young people who don't have anywhere else to go or anything to do. They start hanging around on the streets because they haven't got any club to go to.
That's right.
Because there's, you know, the government is doing massive cuts.
And I think the other thing as well, aside from just the youth club, so that you could potentially
say
that,
what I was going to go on to, is that this to me sounds very much like, the government likes to use this term, the conveyor belt theory. And I'll tell you why. Because what happens is that people carry knives, and what's happening is that it's not just gangsters or people who intend to do harm carrying. It's people carrying knives for their defense or their protection. So why do they feel they need to carry them? Because they feel that they're in danger, their lives in danger. And so why do they feel that their lives in danger? Because they live in areas where knives are prevalent. I mean, they're everywhere. They're present danger, right? And why are these areas? Why are the knives in these areas present? Because they're poverty stricken.
That's right.
Yeah? And they're poverty stricken areas with high crime, and which then has all the other social issues with broken families and whatever you. And so what happens is that these young people who are ordinarily would be an asset to our society are growing up with multiple issues.
Correct.
Mental health issues, as well as just generally not having the right role models to grow up in a environment which is healthy and loving and caring for them to go on and then become positive members of society. Instead, they end up being driven to crime. So to me, that's a conveyor belt theory.
I agree with you.
Which is what, and it starts from. Ultimately, it starts from the cuts that the government has done, and starts from a wider social issue, which we need to fix. Because once we fix that, then it will have an upward trend.
It certainly reminds me about some of the shows we did last year as well, about the class ceiling as well. I mean, even if you make it out of the ghetto, okay, let's just say you weren't one of the guys who was using a knife, and you haven't done anything, but and so you said, okay, well, I'll tell you what, I'll do this the legitimate way. I'll try go and find work and things like that. You're going to hit a class ceiling at some point. And again, or you may not get the opportunity, like Sister was saying about the story she was saying. There's many stories just like that. People who've gone out, got an education, and then through no fault of their own, going back to what you're saying about it is a social issue here, which is then they don't have the opportunity. So, for example, they might have done everything right, applied for the job, and then they keep getting knockbacks, and ultimately they're going to go back there and think, okay, well, when am I going to make money?
Yeah.
This is easy.
Absolutely. I mean,
in fact, actually, we were at Jummah earlier on, weren't we? And the Sheikh, the Imam, he was talking about a mother saying to him about that. The boy said, "I'm going to give up my education. I'm going to stop. I'm not going to go to university. I'm going to go out and I'm going to earn money in an illegitimate way. And I'm going to get paid £1,000, £2,000 a day, and I'll buy you a house." And she said, "No, I don't want your money." I mean, it's a society thing where we're looking for that easy way out, easy way to make money. But that, by the same token, even when we're trying to do things the correct way, there's so many barriers there where you feel, claustrophobic in every way. So you're claustrophobic in literally in the area that you live in, the circle of friends that you have, the education authorities that you go through, and then inevitably when you go and apply for these jobs, again, your CV is put to one side. And if you are lucky to get put in front of a potential employer, he may or may not take you on or take that gamble. And like you said at the beginning, this is a massive problem because these people are our futures.
Yes.
We can't forget that. It's really, really important here that in a lot of the research they say that this is disproportionately black men, young black men who are affected by this. You never hear anything positive. You never hear anything, in the news about an initiative to try and help anything. It's just the same. It keeps going round and round. They're killing each other.
Yeah, I mean that narrative is not. It doesn't help. And quite honestly, you've got this issue where you've got you know, the perpetrator, the victim, obviously has direct impact on his family.
Yeah.
You know, and then the perpetrator also there's a direct impact on his family, because both of these young men could grow up to be positive members of society, and yet the environment. I mean, I don't think either of us is excusing this kind of crime or this kind of actions.
No,
but just trying to kind of understand it.
Yeah.
Now, the other dimension to this is that there isn't a strong enough sentence to those people who are caught carrying knives or committing knives. There's no deterrent sentence. So one of the articles I was reading, one of the guys was saying that, you know, take the acid attack for example.
Yeah.
You know, Arthur Collins, who was a high profile celebrity, was married to a high profile celebrity, or was going out with a high profile
Z-list.
celebrity.
But carry on.
He got 20 years
Yeah.
for throwing acid in a dance club, and a moped acid attacker, Derek John, who was a teenager, got 10 years. So the point is that people are getting substantial sentences when there is when it's raised up, whipped up in the media, and yet, you know, the young people, the people who carry knives. You know, that's not even, the stop and search doesn't even cover that. Only, what was it? I think it was, 15% of stop and search is related to knives.
Yeah.
Whereas 60% is related to drugs.
Yeah. And it takes, you know what you just said that.
So the point is that there's not a sentence. See, if there was, if you were said, right, if you get caught with a knife, you're getting 10 years in prison.
Period.
Yeah, young people thinking, hang on a second.
I can't do that. Well, you know what you just said there? You just made me remember the Bradford riots, where those Asian guys who got sentenced like 5-6 years for throwing a brick.
Yeah.
You know, it's disproportionate because it's whipped up in the media. And meanwhile, while all this is going on, one of our favourite subjects, shall we say, since I've been in Let's Talk, Mr. Trump, as part of an NRA event, stood up and defended gun ownership by referring to blood all over the floors at an unnamed London hospital when he was referring to knife crime. You know, he described London as a city which was now a war zone. You know, these were inflammatory comments. He was trying to justify...
He's not been to the UK for a while, has he?
He was trying to justify Americans and obviously the National Rifle Association, who, you know, helped him to get to where he is, right? To say, look,
a good man with a gun kind of idea.
Hey, look, guns are all right.
Yeah.
You know, guns. He actually said, you know, he went into detail about how, you know, knives were more dangerous and blah blah. You know, and if you had a gun, you could kill the guy with a knife, and you know all this. And it's just thinking, wow, you know, we got this serious problem here.
I mean, that's a mental illness in its own right, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you've only got a hammer, everything's a nail. So as far as he's concerned, you know, a gun would resolve all the issues.
Well, I need to quote him before we get to the advert. He said, I recently read a story that in London, which has unbelievably tough gun laws, a once very prestigious hospital right in the middle is like a war zone for horrible stabbing wounds.
No idea which hospital he's talking about.
Yes, that's right. They don't have guns, they have knives, and instead there's blood all over the floors of the hospital. They say it's as bad as a military war zone hospital. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I mean, we know that there are issues, and we know that people need to tackle these issues, and we know that the knife crime especially is on the rise. Yeah. And especially in London. More so in London than anywhere else. But what's the solution is more money to be given for youth centres, for community building, for capacity building within communities, for education, for jobs, as Dr. Shabina was saying, you know, more apprentices. I mean, more of these things need to be done, not less. See, the problem is that when the government starts to do cutbacks, it's just doing cutbacks, and it's doing cutbacks which are directly affecting the most vulnerable in society. But I don't forget, while they're doing tax cuts for the richest in society. The
bankers, I'll tell you what we're missing as well there as well. It's really, really important. There needs to be a visible policing response in those areas as well, to even just to calm down the fears of the people living in those areas. So they need to bring back up
more Bobby on the beat,
more Bobbies on the beat, more PCSOs back again, to reassure the residents that they can walk safely around London and go about their business. And also remind the perpetrators, look, if you go and carry a knife, we're going to catch you, and we're going to send you. The full force of the law is going to be used against you. But that said, I agree with you. It needs to be, it needs to be a balancing act here. They need everybody who has a vested interest, all the victims, people, support groups and charities, the police, the government, the mayor, all these people, including some of these youngsters who've been through the system, they've come out, their voice is important. Need to work together, because if they don't, all we're going to have is just mass graves.
Yeah. Well, that's a harsh view. But
speak to the parent of the mother whose son died, and she was cleaning his blood from the pavement only yesterday, saying my son should be the last, and that won't be the last.
It won't be the last, no.
You know, if we were in that position and that was our child, how would we feel about it? All we're seeing right now is literally a war zone, and what we need to see now is people clear heads, forward thinking, but everybody's voice needs to be heard.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. I think there's a complex issue, multifaceted. There's a huge layers of issues to deal with. And a more capacity building, more community building. I think more, like I said, more jobs, more opportunities for young people, and less cuts in those areas, because it's the cuts that are killing it.
I agree.
And I think it's no point in having cuts if young people are being killed on the street. Okay, well, Jazakallah khair. Inshallah, we're going to go to a break now, and we'll be back in a tick. Assalamu alaikum.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
Penny Appeal are doing something special. They're giving you the chance to make sure that 100% of your zakat is going to help people who are in desperate need. So this year, give 100% of your zakat to poor and needy people with Penny Appeal, and reap the rewards of fulfilling this beautiful pillar of Islam. Penny Appeal. Small change, big difference.
Feel like some great tasting chicken tonight? Great meal deals, wraps, burgers and sides. We've got it all at Chicken Palace. Call and collect at 302 Lincoln Road on 01733 702 447 or 8 Park Road on 01733 343750. Chicken Palace, open 11 a.m. till late.
Need car parts quickly and at a great price? City Auto Parts offer competitive prices, trade accounts and a delivery service in and around Peterborough. For all your parts and accessories requirements, visit City Auto Parts, 30 Fitzwilliam Street, Peterborough, PE1 2RX. Call us on 01733 347711 or visit www.cityautoparts.co.uk.
Need a great place to chill out? Look no further than The Lounge for quality food and drinks at a great price. Try our varied menu: pasta, seafood, burgers, grills, salad, soup, rice and sides. Also hot and cold drinks, milkshakes and mocktails. Leave room for our exquisite desserts. The Lounge, 417 Lincoln Road, Peterborough. Call 01733 709 306 to order for delivery. The Lounge, friendly service with a great atmosphere.
क्या आप अमार फूड स्टोर आ चुके हैं? अगर नहीं तो जनाब तशरीफ ले आइए और हमारी स्पेशल ऑफर से फायदा उठाइए। A great range of products on groceries, vegetables, fruits, आटा, चावल, दालें, ड्रिंक्स, हलाल मीट के अलावा और बहुत कुछ, यानी एक ही छत तले सब कुछ। अमार फूड स्टोर फ्री पार्किंग के साथ साथ कार्ड पेमेंट एक्सेप्ट करते हैं और आपको फ्री डिलीवरी सर्विस की सहूलत भी फराहम करते हैं। हमारे यहाँ बिल्स पेमेंट और मनी ट्रांसफर की सहूलत भी मौजूद है। अमार फूड स्टोर एंड हलाल मीट, 613B लिंकन रोड, ट्रायंगल, पीटरबरा, या फिर फोन कीजिए 01733687374। अमार फूड स्टोर, मयार का नाम, मुनासिब दाम।
Hate crime is a serious matter. Hate crime is a serious matter. It is important to report all incidents to give the best chance of prevention. If you're a victim or witness of any hate crime or incident, you can report it easily online at peterborough.gov.uk/hate crime. It only takes around 10 minutes and there's no waiting in line. You can choose whether to give your name or a further statement to the police. Please report any incident of hate, whether a victim or witness. As always, for emergencies, please dial 999. For non-emergency, please dial 101. Hate crime. Together, we can stop it.
community radio station, Salam Radio 106.2 FM.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to Let's Talk. In the last segment, we were talking about the knife crimes in London. In this segment, we'll be talking about or discussing the fallout of Trump or US's quitting the Iran nuclear deal. Now, just a bit on that for those people who have not heard the news or not been listening to it. So this
where have you been?
Where have you been? Yeah, this deal has been 10 years in the making. So, and it was reached in 2015 by the 5 permanent members of the Security Council plus one. So that was UK, US, France, China, Russia, and Germany. And it was ratified by the UN. It's called the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, so JCPOA, as you probably hear a lot. So what this allowed the world to do is to curtail, I suppose, Iran's nuclear ambitions, although Iran always and still till today claims that its nuclear research and development was for peaceful purposes, for energy, etc. So anyway, so the deal meant that Iran rolled back a huge amounts of its program in return for lifting of the sanctions which was imposed, which meant that Iran which effectively crippled Iran's economy over 10 years, which meant that Iran could go out and trade with the rest of the world, and also, more importantly, recover $100 billion that was frozen in banks around the world, in particular in the United States. Europe says the deal is still working. Trump says the deal is dead. It was never working. It was the worst deal ever. And some would say that the Americans are the ones who are not abiding by the deal. By reimposing sanctions unilaterally, even though this deal was agreed across many nations and the Security Council and approved by the UN. So what do you think? The United States not holding to its commitments?
Well, I'm seeing double standards here, hypocrisy actually from the US. First of all, let me just quote Trump. Actually, he said, he said this deal was, and I quote, one of the worst and most one-sided transactions the United States has ever entered into. This is on the back of Trump coming into power and overtly trying to undo some of President Barack Obama. Well, actually, most of President Barack Obama's, some would say key wins when he was in office. So, for example, he's tried to, revoke the Obamacare. He's putting out the Paris climate deal, and now obviously here with Iran.
Trade deals with Asia.
The trade South. That's right. Yeah. So the trade. So these are big issues. Big years in the making. Negotiations that have taken so many years. And Iran, you could argue, is probably number one, purely because of its the geopolitical situation in the Middle East and in fact around the world. This has had a lot of effort from the allies that you just mentioned. He's coming to power, since he's taken office, he's like a bull in a china shop. And he's just gone running at this. And what I'm really finding troubling here is the inspectors, who have gone in, they have consistently said that Iran has not violated, not even once, the agreement.
So the other permanent members said the same. Europe, Britain,
correct.
China, Russia. He's all disappointed in Trump's.
Correct. So you have all this information coming from the International Atomic Agency and so on and so forth. You have Macron, who only a few weeks ago was in America, and they were having the loved up situation with each other live on camera. They were calling them the new, the bromance and stuff. Yeah, Angela Merkel, who was there. You had Boris Johnson, who flew out there. You had Theresa May, who went out there. All these people went also to specifically talk to him about Iran and not pull out.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you think he snubbed them then?
I think while he was with them, he didn't.
Right.
I think once they went, he decided he was going to go against the grain and say, well, no, actually, you know what? I'm the man. Remember the quote, when he said to Kim Jong-un, my button is bigger than yours? Yeah. Well, he's exercising this right now. He's tearing up all kinds of diplomacy. He's tearing up the agreements he had in place.
Known as the deal maker.
No. He's the deal breaker.
He's a deal breaker.
He's a deal breaker.
Yeah.
And here's where I said to you initially about the hypocrisy, okay? You have North Korea, Okay, for years and years and years of getting accused of making nuclear weapons and enrichment and so on and so forth, and they said no, we're not doing it, and then they were given billions of dollars from America and then they went back against their word, and then they started doing it. They've ended up with nuclear weapons, right?
Yeah.
And through dialogue, not least from all the previous presidents and all the other people around the world, those two countries are now going to sit at a table. Next month, Trump's going to be there as well. They're going to have a meeting by talking to each other and resolving the issue. What I don't understand here is you have something working independently.
Which happened in the same way by talking.
Correct. Independently verified. Yet he's saying, no, it's not working. It's the worst deal in history. And I'm pulling out of it. And the problem we have here is the petrol, which is Iran's biggest asset, is traded in dollars. Okay, that's one factor here. So by the US pulling out of it, it's also pulling the currency that it's trading with out of this scenario as well. It's also saying to the countries who are, if you carry on doing business with them, we're going to blacklist all of your companies. We're going to go against you as well. You can't do this, right? But hear me out. So then you have a situation where I struggle to understand how is it when there's something's working, it's verified, all your allies are saying it's working. You have to put no effort into it other than sign a document every few months to say, yep, I'm waiving sanctions, okay? When you've got a situation on the Korean Peninsula, which has got nuclear weapons, and you're talking to them.
Yeah.
It's a hypocrisy.
So
he's hypocritical.
Coming back to the question, is America the one that's not abiding by the deal?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt, it's not abiding by the deal.
America is the one that's broken its promise.
Yeah.
And because you'd understand it if the inspectors or anyone else came back and said, look, hang on a second, we find some discrepancy. Iran is continuing on with this program. Iran, is not abiding by the deal. That would be understandable. Right, you cut up the deal, you throw it, shred away, or whatever. You try and salvage it. But here, this is not the case.
No, it's not.
It's America or Donald Trump who actually, even before he came to office, he said that he was going to rip up that deal.
He did, yeah.
So he just continued on.
I mean, he's also had support from Israel. When Netanyahu has been beating the drum about how this was a bad deal, it should never happen. That the history will judge itself. The world will watch back and look at it and saying, how did we allow this to happen?
Yeah, I mean, with Netanyahu, I think I wouldn't get onto that. I wouldn't get onto Netanyahu, but just for the listeners, President Hassan Rouhani, who is the president of Iran, who is a moderate relative to the Iranians, who has been one of the biggest supporters of this deal.
He's put so much effort into it.
He's trying to salvage this now with Europe, UK, France, Germany. Boris Johnson has said we've got no intention to walk away. The main negotiator in Europe, she said that we're not going to walk away. So I think there's some hope there that some deal can be done. The problem is, as you said, is that if the United States, who if we can't have it, nobody can. If it starts to impose sanctions, then European countries will be caught up in that sanctions.
Well, they already are. I mean, think about let's talk about the money then.
Yeah, before we get into Iran, its biggest export is oil.
Yeah.
And just putting in perspective, between 2012 and 2016, they lost out on $118 billion worth of oil revenue. I mean, just imagine what that can do for the country.
Yeah, that's
$118 billion. $100 billion frozen around the world. $118 billion just in 4 years?
Yeah.
It lost out on oil revenue.
Staggering.
So it needs to do this deal.
It has to, yeah.
And the world needs to give Iran a chance to it's abided by all
just like we're giving to North Korea.
We're giving more leverage. Trump is certainly giving more leverage.
They've had all this aid as well. And as you mentioned, one of the things that the EU representatives actually did say as well is, look, America, like any other country, in this deal, no one person can come out and claim to say, right, I'm out, it's over.
Yes, of course.
You can't unilaterally do this.
It wasn't a bilateral deal between the United States and Iran. Although for some reason that's how it gets portrayed.
Well, it is at the moment, isn't it? Because all the media saying, the US is pulled out, it's dead. This isn't going to happen. And all the effects, and then 24, 36 hours later, you start hearing news about massive companies, Airbus, Boeing, all these companies, billion-dollar deals they've done with them. They're all now, worried about what's going to happen, and they're checking with their governments. Can we still do business with these people?
Yeah.
It's a massive cause and effect situation going on here now. And, as you mentioned, Hassan Rouhani just then as well, he actually, and I quote, did say, if they can't reach a deal, to try and salvage it with the UK, France and Germany, they will restart the nuclear program on an industrial level without any limitations. If we achieve the deal's goals in cooperation with other members of the deal, it will remain in place. That's hopeful. I like that. I said he's committed.
Yeah, of course.
He's an intelligent man. He's committed. However, Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei doesn't appear to have much faith. And I quote, on Wednesday, he told the Iranian government, we hear that you want to continue the nuclear deal with the European countries. I don't have confidence in these three countries. I don't blame him.
And Trump doesn't make it easy.
No.
I mean, when Trump was saying to Kim Jong-un that, we're going to bomb you, we're going to nuke you, or whatever the terms he was using.
Yeah.
And Kim Jong-un turned around and said, well, that's the very reason why I want nuclear weapons, because it's a deterrent. Because nuclear weapons act as deterrents for countries to bomb you.
Yeah.
And but I want to get into a very
actually, let me just pick you up on that. You're absolutely right. The other problem you have here as well now is if Iran decides to go back in the other direction. I'm not scaremongering. I'm just saying, and they start building, decide they want to go down the area to start build up an arsenal. You have a situation where other Middle Eastern countries, especially Saudi Arabia, could follow suit.
Yes. Now, I tell you, just on that, actually, and I knew this happened, so I looked it up today for this show. The Middle East, so in the 70s, or in the 60s, actually, there was a program called the Middle East Nuclear Weapon Free Zone.
Okay.
So the countries wanted the entire Middle East to be free of nuclear weapons. Now, this was steps were taken in 1960, which led to a joint declaration by Egypt, who is a big proponent of this, and guess who? Iran. Both Egypt and Iran made a joint declaration that we want, in 1974, that we want the Middle East to be nuclear-free zone. We don't want any countries in the Middle East to possess nuclear weapons, which led on to the UN General Assembly resolution, and you get the Non-Proliferation Treaty in the 1970s. And then I read in 2015, as a headline in The Guardian, on 23rd of May 2015, Netanyahu of Israel,
Bibi,
thanks US, John Kerry in particular, and Obama, which was strange because he's never thanked Obama for anything, although on the contrary accused Obama for everything. Netanyahu thanks US for blocking push for Middle East nuclear arms ban. So Netanyahu of Israel, who is saying that nuclear weapons or weapons of mass destruction in the Middle East will cause disruption and instability in the Middle East, actually thanked not only the US but also UK and Canada for opposing the Egyptian plan for a nuclear-free zone. I mean, what hypocrisy!
Yeah,
and Netanyahu is the same guy who, during the Gulf or during Bush's era, Iraq War, sorry, thank you, went out there and spoke to Congress and encouraged them. Kerry, reminded everyone that he was the one who came here and said, "You do this, you attack Iraq, not." When will you attack Iraq? Because I guarantee you, and this is what he said, that once you do that, Iraq, the Middle East will be a better place, will be a prosperous place, there'll be democracy, etc., etc., etc. And what Kerry said was, and where are we now?
Yeah.
And now he's doing the same thing. I mean, Netanyahu is proponent of war and killing, and I mean we see this from what they do in Gaza and in against the Palestinian people. He's just this kind of arrogance and willful disregard for life is I don't know. There aren't any words that can describe this person who flies around the world encouraging people, encouraging countries to go to war with other countries, especially United States. Anyway, so he thanked Britain and Canada for blocking this consensus, and it wasn't just Egypt. It was Egypt and other Arab states. So the Arabs have actively pursued. The Arab states have actively pursued a nuclear-free zone, and the reason why they want a nuclear-free zone, not that any other countries around there possesses nuclear weapons, is because Israel is the one that's believed to possess nuclear weapons
widely,
and Israel is refusing to sign up, and it was actually it's been absent from the NPT meeting for 20 years.
Wow.
And when it does actually join for that year, they don't have a conference, frustrating both Egypt and other Arab states. Israel has actively pursued a double policy. On the one hand, crying victim at the fact that, oh, look, these WMDs are coming in and etc. is destabilizing, even though we have all the weapons that we need. And on the other hand, has blocked any attempt at any of these countries to try and stop weapons of mass destruction, nuclear weapons, entering the Middle Eastern area.
Well, I mean, and the other scary thing, where we're getting towards now, and we got asked the question, are we edging perilously close to a war now, another war in the Middle East? We saw Israel launched its most intensive attack on the Iranian positions in neighbouring Syria since the civil war began in 2011. What's really scary about that as well is it depends, when you're going through, once you get past the main media streams and things like that, for weeks beforehand, there was some skirmishes and things towards the Golden Heights and things like that. But as soon as Trump pulled out, Israel effectively tried to wipe out, and they claimed they wiped out all of the Iranian military assets that were in Syria. And there's often you hear it's a red line apparently where if Israel will never ever tolerate any significant Iranian presence in Syria. And to that end, quote, Netanyahu claimed that Iran had crossed a red line and the Israeli response using airstrikes was appropriate.
No, I think Netanyahu again, is lying and is misleading the world. I mean, on the one hand, they are the ones who went and attacked the town of Bath, and also attacked or raided a military base in Kiswa in the south of Damascus. Moments after Trump pulled out of the deal, and Netanyahu is being the biggest proponent of crushing and pulling out of that deal. And as a response, although Iran has denied that it's fired any missiles at the Golan Heights, Israel broke the sovereignty of Syria and attacked targets in Syria. So if anyone who is destabilizing the region, if anyone is undermining international international law, is Israel.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I find really sobering as well after this happened. This is a quote from Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman. Okay, he told the media on Thursday, he said, they need to remember the saying that if it rains on us, it'll storm on them. And then he went on further to say, I hope we finished this chapter and everyone got the message.
Yeah.
This is a scary. We need to be. This needs to be. I think it's a very scary development.
This is not about the deal. I don't think it's ever been. No. With Trump and Netanyahu, it's never been about the deal. Yeah. It's been about getting Iran kicking and screaming into a conflict in which they can decimate Iran.
Yeah.
Especially Israel can decimate Iran, because right now it's seeing that it's a regional player, it's a major regional player, and it can undermine Israel's attempt at trying to control that region. I'll tell you the absurdity of it is that Israel attacks Syria. So for all intent and purposes, Israel has been aggressive and broke international law. And then it goes to the UN Security Council and says that they must condemn Iran for attacking them.
Yeah.
I mean, there is retaliation. Normally if somebody attacks you, you have a right to retaliate. Yeah, so it's perfectly fine. I mean, if Iran did, Iran claims it didn't, but assume that Iran did retaliate. I mean, the idea is retaliation is not attack.
Mm-hmm.
Israel was the first to attack.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, with all this stuff, I think it's, although our focus is on the deal, I don't think when it comes to Netanyahu, when it comes to the Zionist lobby in Israel, the right wingers, and the United States, I think this is all about trying to keep perpetual violence in the Middle East, to keep these countries under constant fear and attack. So they can't use 4 years of $118 billion to build their countries, to build the education system, to build the infrastructure, to export knowledge and whatever out of the country. So they can always just remain on the back foot, impending an attack. And I think this is something that Israel, unfortunately, it doesn't realize that it's living in the same neighborhood. So you start burning other people's houses down, the fire is going to be spreading widely.
Yeah,
and you should have the fear that it may catch your backyard as well.
And the other thing which is quite it's sad in many respects as well about Iran. I mean, it's a highly educated society. It's a young society. If people are growing up and they're seeing that that their opportunities are being curtailed by outside forces, there's going to be a drive at some point where they're going to say, look, you know what, forget it. Let's just do what we can't do. Let's go with this. Let's enrich the uranium. Let's build our country, but we don't know where the future is going to go. I think ultimately the problem what we got here now is nobody knows. It's a chessboard situation. We don't actually know what's going to happen next. What we do know is now there's a serious amount of posturing, and there's a finite amount of time for the remaining allies to try and salvage this, because if they don't, I can't see any reason why the Ayatollah, who said he doesn't have any faith in it, that the Iranians will not restart the program. And then what we'll have then, Hamid, is a situation where we're going to see different leaders of the world saying, oh, that's it, Iran's created this, now they're going to use it for that. And unlike North Korea, they're going to start. They're going to try and bomb Iran.
I don't think.
I hope it never gets to that. Of course,
I don't think neither Israel or Iran are wanting to run into a headlong conflict with each other.
No, and I also don't think Iran doesn't have the capacity either.
Whether Iran has or not, but I don't think neither of the countries can afford to run into a headlong conflict. But there is a third issue. And that is that right now we're seeing United States, with Trump pulling out this deal, being isolated because the rest of the European and China and Russia and other allies who are party to this deal haven't pulled out. On the contrary, they've said that we want to stick with it. Now, Netanyahu has always been the biggest enthusiast proponent of crushing this deal, along with Trump. And so the problem is that I think what is happening now is to attack Iran or attack some targets, get Iran into conflict, like I said, kicking and screaming, and then the rest of these Western allies will have to make a stand. They'll have to choose sides, and they're not likely to choose Iran's side because Iran has had a bad PR in the rest of the world. And like any country, we see this in the United States, you have the people on the far right extreme, and then you have moderates and you have people on the far left. And unless you kind of widen the moderates and facilitate and support them, you end up with people on the right, or far right, raising their voices louder and louder and louder, as we've seen in the United States with the election of Trump. And then we get some crazy stuff happening. So I think this is the problem, that the moderates in Iran, who have been working tirelessly to try and grow their base so that they can make policy decisions, and what Trump has just done is literally thrown a bomb into that and given fuel to the right wingers. Any country
I agree with you. I think ultimately what would be interesting to see is after all the other allies stand up and say, actually, do you know what? No, we're not going to do this. If they together stand up to the US's decision to pull out and just carry on with it and actually do their best to mitigate the damage from these sanctions, I think there's a chance. I really do. But that requires planning, and like you just said, the moderates need to be working together, because ultimately either side, if on all sides it's the right wing calling the shots, the world is going to be an even more of a crazy place and scarier place.
Absolutely. And really it does fall down to, although Britain and Canada and the United States did block Egypt's proposal for a nuclear free zone in the Middle East at the behest, not at the behest of Netanyahu, but at the happiness and enthusiasm of Netanyahu, it does fall down to Britain, France and Germany, really, to try and Russia and China, to try and salvage, or at least to keep this deal going, because this is a multi-partisan deal. It's not just the United States.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And I really do hope they do it. I'm not going to hold my breath, though, because you're talking about Security Council here.
Yeah, well, I mean, the deal's done. The deal's
I know. I'm just saying.
they,
How long are they going to be able to keep it up for? Is what I meant. I hope they do. I hope they salvage it, and Iran doesn't have to be put in this situation where it can't help its own people grow its nation. You know?
I mean, at the end of the day, its money is frozen overseas, and sanctions get reapplied. It's going to hit the Iranian people. And this is something that I don't know. Is
and ultimately us, I suppose, at the pumps when the fuel prices go up because the production is going to go down. So it's an effect that's going to happen around the world. Ultimately, Trump's decision will have an economic ripple around the world.
Yeah, but I mean, Iran hasn't been producing massive oils for the last 10 years. I mean, only the last couple of years. So I don't think it'll have a massive impact on the global oil markets. But still, Iran needs the money to grow its economy, to grow its base, and ripping up this deal is a nail in that attempt at doing that.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, well, Jazakallah Akil, Jazakallah brothers and sisters for listening. Inshallah, we'll be here same time next week. Please do tune in. Assalamu alaikum.
You're listening to Salam Radio, and it's now time for Maghrib Azan.
الله أكبر الله